Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Corner Talks podcast. I have my good friend here, talented actor Shavae Lorenzo. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on? How you been?
I'm doing well, man. Welcome back. It's been a short time since you've
Thank-
been on the podcast.
I know. Thank you for having me. It feels good. It feels good. We had a great conversation the last time, so it's like why not continue it? Why not keep it going? So we're
Yeah,
back.
of course.
Back.
Yeah, that clip you shared on your Instagram, just a snippet of our last conversation. I was even watching it as if I don't even remember what the conversation was about, and I was invested. I'm like, oh, tell me more about acting, Shanae, right? And because you just sold it, and you're just so passionate and energetic, and that's the whole intention of the podcast. Is I wanted people to see another side of you, another side of artists, what we go through, whether it's our day to day struggles, our ups and downs,
Mhm.
and just the process essentially, man. Because a lot of people have reached out and I'm so grateful in the film industry that have said this has helped me with my mental health, or this has helped me, to pursue my passion, or just inspired me, because I'm in a rut right now with this pandemic, and I'm realizing like the artist journey. I get a lot of great feedback from that. It's a particular
Mhm.
episode I did, and people just want to hear your story and how you're killing it, how you intend to make it. Did you make it? So I'm so glad, like I said, you get this another opportunity. We can have you back and have the conversation.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm super humbled, and I feel a large amount of gratitude to be able to even do something like this. A
Hmm.
lot of people are not afforded the luxury of being able to sit down and talk to a friend about
Yeah,
the journeys that we've had and what we're looking forward to,
of
and the
course.
successes along the way. So it takes nothing for me to be here and to talk about what we love. So it's yeah, it's one of those things. It's nothing.
Yeah,
It's a regular conversation,
it's a
and
regular conversation. Yeah, and for those of you that don't haven't heard the last episode, give you guys some context. We used to work together, Shay and I. So we were friends before this podcast, and we always expressed our passion, our intention, to break out in the film industry. And it's amazing, we commend each other on our journeys, just seeing our growth and our progress going, different directions, but very similar too, very on the path. And before the podcast, I just admire the fact that we're on the same mindset in terms of this branding and marketing and the importance of really getting the message out there, as creatives. I think it's so important that we see it as not competing against one another, but as a team, as a community. It's a collaboration at the end of the day. And if there's one thing film has taught me as a director, you can't do it alone. I used to when I was starting out, but you can only you'll hit a ceiling, as my buddy was telling me on the last podcast. You're gonna eventually hit a ceiling, and you're gonna need people to show you the ropes, or maybe pick up some spots that you can only wear so many hats with, right? So I know I know you agree with me on that, and we'll dive into it. But yeah, like I said, man, welcome back to the podcast. Really exciting. I see you excelling at your craft and acting since that short period of time. You've been posting a lot of content. I'm a big fan of that. Always getting the message out there. Always, showing your talents and seeing people, showing people what you can do. So I want to know, a big thing that you posted that caught my eye, is that acting role you had with the Ontario Dental Association. It was a very fun, engaging, comedic, commercial, and you suit it perfectly. That's what I loved about it. So walk me through it. Like, how did you land the role, and how did you prepare for it?
So I originally received the notification from my agent via email, and it was a Zoom audition. And
Nice.
in every breakdown, it gives you the description of the character. What sort of their intention is. How they are,
Yeah.
right? And in this script, it seemed that it was the ODA, and they gave like a little brief description of how the scene would be. They always kind of have an attachment of the scene, your lines
Right.
and things of that nature. And honestly, I didn't put too much into it. I memorized the lines. I got the text down, and one of the things that I've been trying to really focus on is prepping for it and then letting go when you get into
Mhm.
to the audition room, because a lot of times you get into such a habit of doing it one way, and you're so stuck on that. Then when you get redirects, it catches you off guard, and sometimes that may not be the best situation to be in.
Right. Right. Of
So
course.
um, It was I got it maybe 2 days before. So we
Okay,
get up
nice.
to the day. We get up
Yeah.
to the day, and I'm ready. And I don't something figured I was like, if I'm doing a commercial and audition for a dental association or anything pertaining to, I should probably have a toothbrush in my hand. Probably get a toothbrush.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and funny enough, they popped a little message in the little box, and they said, "Make sure you have a toothbrush in your hand." So
Oh yeah.
I was like, "What are the?" I
So
was like, "What are
you
the
were prepared,
chances?"
man. That's what I like to
Yeah,
hear, right?
I was like, "What are the chances?"
Yeah, yeah.
And then I got into the audition room, and director just sort of spoke us through it, and um, and from there we did the first scene with my on screen girlfriend or wife or my
Yes.
partner,
Yeah.
and we did it. We had fun, and what they do is during these Zoom auditions, if they like what they see,
Right.
they let you wait in the waiting room, and then
Oh,
they
okay.
discuss, and then they'll bring you back in.
Wow.
So after we did the first one or two takes, they said, okay, we really like what we see. Just wait in the break room, the holding room, and then we'll call you right back. So then they called me
Right.
back in with a different girlfriend, and just did the same thing. Just had fun with it. Took the direction. And one of the things that I think made it really stand out is I put the toothbrush in my mouth, and I actually physically did the act,
Yeah. Yeah.
of speaking with your toothbrush in your mouth, because a lot of the times you tend to do that. It's human, it's sort of just a human thing to
Norm.
do.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest pieces of advice I got was, don't think like an actor, think like a human being, you
Yeah.
know? And
That's so
that's one of
important.
the moments. That's one of the moments I was like, Shavae, what would you be doing? You're talking, you would have the toothbrush in your mouth. You'd be
Yeah. Yeah.
worried
Yeah.
about having all the toothbrush going all over the place. I kind of like small moments. And it was a great experience. And they liked it and they laughed and we had fun. And then a couple days later, I booked the job,
There you
and
go, man. Yeah.
the rest is history.
The rest is history. Yeah. Yeah, you said a lot of good points there, but it's so important too. Like that's what it came across as so authentic with regards to that commercial is you said it right there. You had the toothbrush in hand, you put it in your mouth, you were communicating with your on-screen partner. And that's what caught my eye, right? It was like I was watching it and I'm like, damn, like like it's a fun, it's a well done commercial. Like it's something that I would see on TV, like
Yeah.
in between a show. But again, you just suited that style, like that typical, you know what I mean, like those fun kind of quirky situations, and that gives credit to the fact that you went into the audition with that mindset. Like no one had to
Mhm.
tell you because you already thought, how am I going to make this as believable as I can?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man.
And sometimes it's as simple as that, just to, not to overthink things too much. You just want to think like a human being. As actors, you are literally a mad scientist. You are
Yeah,
craving the information of what it means to go behind the human psychology of why people do the things they do, why they act to the way that they act, why do they react to certain things. What is the relationship between one person to another. The way that I speak to my mother is different than the way I speak to you, the way that I speak to
for
my
sure.
sister. Those relationships, really understanding it and just having fun. That's so important. Sometimes we lose that.
Yeah,
We're so stressed about getting it right, remembering our lines and pressing, doing all these things, the distractions. It's just enjoy what you're doing.
hmm,
Everything that I have booked is because I just enjoyed it. I
yeah,
didn't stress over it. Again, we're humans. You have a little bit of that,
of course.
sort of in your mind.
Yeah.
But just to have fun. And on set that day, we just had fun. We it was a great cast and crew,
Nice.
and the level of comfort really showed, and it proved to be on screen. We were
Yeah.
comfortable to make mistakes, to fail, to try different things, um, and to just be funny and just to have fun. And a really great outcome came from that. So I'm super happy and
Yeah.
I'm super proud.
And you said it right there. Too many of us. It doesn't matter whether you're an actor. I think most creatives or individuals in life, we get stressed about things, especially if we really want it. And they always
Mhm.
say things. I hate it, but you have to accept it when people say you'll get it when you least expect it, or you least kind of stress about it, right? And it's like that's what I am. What are you talking about? I'm the one that's always like focusing all my attention on my energy. But it's so true, man. Like there have been moments or opportunities that I've experienced myself where, if as long as I had that confidence or that belief, I did the best I could, and I just literally like let it go, then the rest is history. And then most likely I would get an opportunity for it. And there's something I admire about you. I'll say it, and I really do genuinely mean this. You always have this like happy-go-lucky, just positive outlook on everything that you do, right? And that's something that's inspirational. That's something that I learned from as well, because I know I get caught up in my own head at times. But with yourself, you kind of have that attitude, like, no, let's do it. Like, let's kill it. Like,
Yeah.
what's stopping us? You know what I mean? Like, there's no ifs, ands, or
There
buts.
is there is nothing to lose, man. Like the
Yeah,
only thing
yeah,
you gain from it is the lessons.
mhm,
I don't even call them losses. They are lessons.
yeah,
If things don't work out the way that you want to work out, you take what you got from that experience and you move on, and you apply that
exactly.
moving forward. What we're doing is such a luxury in life. It's like, how can I complain about this?
Hmm.
I'm able to wake up and do what I want to do and what I love to do every single day.
Exactly.
It's going to be really hard for me to find reasons to be mad or upset and
Yeah.
not to enjoy it. So that's
That's a
kind of how
healthy
I see it.
approach. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a healthy approach, and it's something that definitely I should remind myself as well. Like because I have my dark moments and my times, especially now with the circumstances. I should say, creatives. As much as we're introverted, I believe a lot of us are extroverted. That they enjoy talking to people, communicating, and that's one of the reasons why I started the podcast. Is as much as I enjoy it as a networking tool and for branding, it's at its core just to catch up with friends, right, colleagues. It's an excuse to have a chat, have a sit down, because everyone's so busy with their lives, right? But just setting aside an hour a day is just an amazing opportunity. And like you said, we're so fortunate, and not that I'm not grateful or anything, but I do have those moments where I have to remind myself, like, there's a lot of people that can't go full force into their craft. You know what I mean? Like they have to, work a job maybe on the side, kind of like what we were discussing on the last podcast about, how we're giving ourselves that opportunity to really, see where we can go with this. And, I have friends or I have people that I've worked with where they're working multiple jobs while doing this. You know what I mean? And it's like, I should be appreciative. I think what I'm trying to get at is you should always be appreciative of whatever you possess or whatever you have or you experienced. Too many of us get caught up like, oh, this project, I didn't do this project yet, or I didn't connect with this artist yet. And it's like your time will come and your path is different. Like you got to compare with yesterday. Your progress, for example, is very different than mine. The Ontario Dental Health Association, that's a huge milestone for yourself, right? And whatever I experienced with regards to like getting accepted to a film festival, like that's a milestone for myself. It's not always going to be the same. You know what I mean? Like you can never compare an artist's journey, as proven with the heroes we look up to. There's not one biography where it's like, oh, they did the same thing. That's crazy. Like it's just like, like what happened? They went to the same school and they graduated and you know what I mean? It's like, no, everyone has a different story. People start later, people start early. People go through traumas, and a big thing that I think you can agree on as well, because I commended you on being positive. Positivity, what I learned recently is, it's not necessarily being happy all the time. It's just the hope or that the conviction that things will be okay or get better. And I think that's the best way, because I always used to think like, oh, when people say stay positive, it's like, well, how happy can I be? Like I can't always be happy. Like there's just like life gets in the way, right?
Of course.
And
Yeah.
I think it's just that the wish in your heart that you just know, you know what I mean, like that sense of hope. You just know things will work out if you just keep persisting, keep trying.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you have to stay insanely focused. And you have to believe that you're going to get to that goal that you want to get to. It's I always say everybody's path is different, and even as you were mentioning
For
just
sure.
now, everybody's path is different to success, right? But the one thing that people forget to do is they forget to enjoy the journey to it.
Mhm.
How do you look up at the stairs and you just say, okay, let me get there, but you forget to walk up every single step that leads you to that point, right? Just being able to kind of appreciate it. And again, I have my days where, I may feel self-doubt or I may feel down. Um, and it's a human emotion. It's okay to feel that. It's
Yeah.
okay to feel that. But don't let it affect you moving forward.
Yeah.
Energy is huge. The energy that you radiate is one of the strongest things. It's kind of like the minute you walk into a room or even on a Zoom, you can sense somebody's energy.
Yeah.
Somebody who is not happy and somebody who's frustrated and angry, as much as they try and shield that and hide that, you're going to feel that energy from them,
Yeah. It's
right?
true, man.
And the same thing will apply when you go into an audition room and you are you're just down and you're angry and you're upset. They're going to sense that. And again, this is a business and they are huge on low risk management.
Yeah.
So when they say low risk management, they want to hire the talent that is going to do the job really well,
Hmm.
be easy to work with,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because as soon as the camera stops cutting, or even while it's going,
Yeah.
they need to be able to like you. You know what I mean? They need to be able to like you. It goes down
Yeah.
to a human level,
Of
right?
course.
Do I like this person? Can I work with them? Right. So yeah,
Yeah, no, and you make a good point, right? Like that low risk management kind of aspect. Creativity is so delicate as it is, so fragile. And you've been on sets where it's like, God forbid you have someone that's just a pain in the ass to work with. It could hinder like a whole production because that energy, first of all, you can't even get it in the performance or get the person to focus. And also it affects, it's intoxicating. It affects other actors. It affects the crew, and no one really feels like being there, right? And there's been stories, even in Hollywood of, actors getting out of control or, hurting the set. And that's what essentially it does. It just, it doesn't affect us, the audience. It affects them, their production. And sometimes you see it, right? Things just not working out. Like Suicide Squad's a big example. Like just the fact that energy, like the way it got pulled apart, you feel it as like an audience member. How it was, like you said, that energy was relayed to us. And I think it's so important what you said too, because that's something I wanted to kind of like stay on for a bit, is that self-doubt. Like you said, you have it, and I'm glad you admitted that, because a big thing for me, and I've been talking to a lot of artists, is I always have that belief in my heart. And I think you have to have that conviction, or else why do it? Why be crazy enough to do this? You know what I mean? When we have friends or people we know just like working jobs, steady, buying houses and stuff, but we do it because we believe we have a shot. That's the only reason
mhm,
why we do it. Like we see ourselves there, we visualize it. But like you said, as human beings, naturally, we're gonna have our days of self doubt, or we'll have our days where it's like, what am I doing this for? Like, do I even love what I'm doing, right? And it's dangerous because you get inside your own head and it limits creativity. Um, do you kind of like, so what you're saying is you accept that self doubt, but you're saying it never gets in the way. Like what I'm trying to get at is there are those that will say like, I believe I'm going to make it no matter what. But are you humble enough, or in a way like kind of aware enough to say, I'm going to make it, but I have to do these amount of steps or this amount of work to get there?
absolutely.
Yeah.
This is not a career that is easy. It's very challenging. You hear a lot of no's.
Mhm.
Naturally as human beings, we don't like to hear no,
Yeah.
especially
No,
when it's for things that we want,
of course,
right?
of course. Yeah.
And that may affect you. Um, but for me, I always think about it. I'm like, and again, this came from an interview that I watched from Michael B. Jordan. When it comes to roles, booking roles, being able to let go after
Yeah.
auditions or, whatever you may do, the one thing that you need to remind yourself as an actor is there's going to be a lot of things that are out of your control. Only control what you can control.
Yeah.
You can only control your performance when you get into that room, how you are with everybody who's in the room, how respectful you can be, how positive you can be, right? Every role that you get is the perfect role for you. It will
Makes
always be
sense.
that way.
Yeah.
And I've had auditions where, I thought I was perfect for the role. And then I watched the finished project and I said, this was perfect for him. This was perfect for him. What was I thinking? What
Right.
was I thinking? It was absolutely perfect for this guy. And
Yeah.
I'm so happy that they made that decision because again, every role that, was perfect for you will be for you.
Yeah.
And, I think I have a great supporting system, which really helps
Yeah.
as well too. And it wasn't always that way, you know, especially, just to touch on it, my mom, she is so militant. She's very old
Yeah.
school in her fashion. She's a
Yeah. Yeah.
teacher.
Yeah.
She's well educated.
Yeah.
She's very big on, the 9 to 5 life and sort of
100%.
navigating life that way. And
Yeah.
I have no negative animosity towards that life, but I cannot do that. And at first when I started acting, it was difficult for her to understand
Of
and for her
course.
to get it. And I said to her one day, I was like, all of this may sound crazy. I know, but I just need you to trust me.
Yeah.
That's it. The
Yeah.
minute that you trust me, it is going to lift all of this burden and all of this
Yeah.
pressure off of my shoulders. And that's when I'll be able to fly. And as soon as you said, I trust you, that's when things started rolling. And show improve as you begin to start to see
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
She's now more so in my corner, and all my friends, all my family, my girlfriend, you name it, everybody's sort of in my corner because they know how passionate I am about this. And also too, I'm very passionate about what they love and what they do, and I'm always in support of that. Right?
Yeah.
Life is precious, and again, we have those moments where we get down, but we got to just look at the bigger picture and just
Yeah.
understand that one, we're human beings, and we will have those moments, but just to remember that just to remember that it is a luxury to be here, and again, just to do what we love.
Yeah, man.
And I remind myself of that every single day. you know um Things will come. Things will come. As long as I stay focused and I stay on the path,
Yeah.
things will
Yeah.
come.
And you're
That's
mature
what it
enough.
is.
Yeah. And you're mature enough to that's what I was getting at, right? Is like you're mature enough to admit that, you don't know how life's gonna be. Like it's unpredictable, right? Like life can flip you on. It's kind of like no matter like thinking like no matter what happens, I'm gonna get there. And it's like, yeah, have that mindset, but also be aware, like you said, is that role that you get rejected, right? Multiple times, you realize it's not for you, right? And you have that healthy attitude because I think when we set ourselves up for expectations, right, we have to also remind ourselves, what if it's a tricky subject, because people will say like, well, you can't say what if, but for me, it's more like you have to always be prepared and you have to always like understand how you're going to pivot or how you're going to move around it, right? You don't change your course. It's just kind of like, you get rejected from a Netflix pitch, right? How do you bounce back from that? Do you wallow in pity? No, you bounce back and you keep going and you do something else, right? But you have to be prepared that you will get those rejections, and you may not get to that point that you actually visualize. But like you were saying, like Michael B. Jordan, uh, comes down to like, are you meant for that role? Are you meant for that experience? Right? Are you prepared for that? That's the biggest thing for me. And I think it's all about, man, being too many creatives, too many artists. I think they get caught up in like, saying, "Oh, I'm the best," or "I know what I'm doing," or whatever. And there's such a thing as being too overconfident. And for me, it's more like as results come in, that's when you can start having that attitude. Do you know what I mean? Like someone at our
Mhm.
levels, I would never dare like say I know, like I would believe like I know what I'm doing, but I would always be open to people's insights, collaborate, like, you know what I mean? Like creative tips and things like that. I'm never gonna like cut off someone and say, no, just trust me on this, unless I'm really convinced on what I'm doing. But I think it's so important to have that humility, and to be aware that, like you said, like life is not predictable, especially this path, and we just have to take every day uh, as being appreciative and staying focused. And if we do get into slumps, just remind yourself like you're on the same path, and it's okay to have a bad day. I should say that. Like
Absolutely.
it's something that I got to remind myself, especially, man. Like it's okay. Like, people have bad days. The fact that you were putting stuff out there, the fact that we're just, you know, chipping away each day is a huge milestone compared to like someone that says, I want to be an actor and doesn't even try. So
Mhm.
that's something that I think it's so important that we share and we have. Um, I've noticed, I want to get into another topic here. I've noticed you're beginning to do more collaborations with local actors and submitting them. through media contests like the Monologue Slam. I've seen that. So great job on that. Another funny kind of clip. Yeah, another funny clip. I didn't know what the hell was happening. So so no, the reason why I say this, guys, is because if you guys see his clip on his page, Shavae Lorenzo on Instagram, was it shot in the same car, or did you just have to
Two different cars.
two different cars,
So
right? Yeah,
yeah, we originally we were gonna just shoot it like in our self-tape studios, but I'm like, let's just get more creative.
that's the
Let's
funniest thing.
shoot it in our cars. We can find a funny way to kind of we had to figure out the angle and stuff.
Of
And I'm
course, of
like,
course.
because we're doing it through Zoom, we can find a way to just kind of have one angle, shot towards me and one angle shot towards him, and then we can just cut it
And
up.
you recorded it,
And
yeah, yeah.
we just recorded it, and it was just a fun thing. It was just a fun thing to do. It's I'm at this point now where I like to just kind of, I like to do the comedic stuff. It's really fun. It's really
Yeah,
fun to do. It's very freeing. It's very, very freeing to do
of course.
that. Of course, by heart, I love, dramatic narratives and how it makes me feel. But it always feels good to just watch something that can make you smile,
Yeah,
or why not provide, entertainment, but beyond that, why not entertain the idea of making people smile and brightening up their day, regardless if it's something silly or if it's something,
yeah,
something else.
yeah,
But
100%.
yeah, we just decided to do it, and we added to the scene as well too.
Nice.
That scene was actually from um, this is the end. Seth
Oh,
Rogen's
okay.
film.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I was like, what? Let's spice this up. Let's not stick to the text completely. Let's just kind of have fun with it. Let's go off the page. Let's go left field. If we feel like we're going too far, let's
Yeah,
bring it
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Let's just kind of have fun with it, and that's what we did.
Yeah, you stay
Yeah.
to the script as much as you can, but I think the best performance is like when you can improvise or ad lib. You know what I mean? Like you could just be yourself and kind of feel the moment. You make it
Yeah.
organic as you can. That's something that I've learned. My last project as a director is, I'll have them interpret the lines the way they feel, and then I'll chime in and make my kind of tweaks. But I think it's a big thing to see an actor, because people forget actors are just as creative as you. They have their own interpretation of the role, and they might even surprise you. So I think it's always important that before you, as a director, kind of jump in and say, hold on, like let me fix this. Let them just explore that scene, and then you can kind of and say, okay, lift your head up a little bit here, maybe add a bit more aggression on this point. But it's so important, and it makes your job easier too, because you're kind of like playing off of what they're going for, and your actor is much more comfortable in the scene. Which I'm one of those directors where I believe because in retail they would teach us, right, we're the frontline staff, and it's
Mhm.
so important we have that energy. Chevy excelled at this. That's why he was always smiling, polishing glasses in the back. That sunglass hat.
Uh,
Yeah, but I'm saying is it's so true. Like the actors is the frontline staff. When you
yeah.
watch a movie, the audience immediately draws to the actor. They don't care what the director. Obviously, the director, they're subconsciously saying, okay, like the shot, the music, whatever. But that's after they approve of the actors on screen. And if you're on screen, let's say I'm giving you a hard time, giving you anxiety, and like just being an asshole about egotistical, you could be a really good actor, really professional, but I feel it would still come across that energy. It would be a restricted performance, and the audience just doesn't feel comfortable.
Mhm.
And I think I mentioned on the last podcast about you just feel like you're in on the joke when when it's successful, like Iron Man, right? You just know everybody had a good time.
Oh yeah.
Everyone, and you see the behind the scenes, right? Like everyone's shooting the shit. Star Wars prequel. I love Star Wars, but let's be honest, Star Wars prequel is a bad example for that, because you see the behind the scenes and it's very structured. Stand in front of here, when I yell action, do this, do that, and you can kind of see it in their performances. Everything's very monotone, wooden, kind of rigid. It's unfortunate because I love Star Wars, but it's the truth. I got to be honest about that. So
Mhm.
just to give you like just two different comparisons, like contrast. But that's great, man. And one thing when I noticed about this submission for the monologue slam, and it's kind of came to mind, whether it's a director or as an actor, you know, does this piece of content allow you to explore like facets of your creativity, as opposed to, getting a role in the Ontario Health Association, like something a bigger project? Do you have more leeway, like more freedom?
I would, you know what? Yes, I would say so. And the only reason being is because, when you're doing competitions like the monologue slam, it's really you just directing yourself. So there's a level of freedom, creative freedom, that is
Right.
allowed within that space to really make the mistakes and to really have fun with it. You know, when you're doing something like the ODA, there is a level of freedom that you have,
Hmm.
and it's very collaborative.
Right.
But you know, it's more so, you know, we're trying to meet in the middle in terms of your vision and what you want and how I am seeing that happen, right?
Right.
So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more of a tug and pull, but it still serves me in both ways. I still
Yeah.
find fulfillment in that, and I also always remember that as a creative, um, and as an artist, I will always have the freedom to create. You know, I will never be restricted to that, especially in this era and in this time. You know, we're able to easily jump on Zoom and, you know, storm out a scene and to just to perform it
Yeah.
just for just for sakes, right? So, you know, you kind of think about all those things, you compartmentalize all those things as well too, and you know, again, not even being selfish, because that's also a selfish aspect. You just remember that it's bigger than you. You know,
Yeah.
you are part of this puzzle that everybody's trying to figure out,
Yeah.
right? And, you know, help and contribute to figuring this out. And you know, when the time comes, be creative, have fun,
Yeah.
and surprise yourself and surprise others, and you know, see what comes
Yeah.
from that.
For sure,
Yeah,
man. I asked that question because, like I said, I always found it interesting, and even as a director, right? Like the projects that I've worked on myself, like my own projects that I've created from the ground up, compared to if I was hired for a job or just collaborating with someone else, is very different. It's a very different animal, and you kind of experiment differently. I feel like when you're on your own, it's like all you, like your responsibility, and kind of like that monologue slam submission. That's what I mean by exploring facets of your creativity, like things that you might not even think of, right? Because as great an opportunity the Ontario Dental Association is, at the same time they have an agenda. They have something there, like a criteria they want you to follow. And I think what I'm trying to get at is it's important when you're doing these kind of submissions, these content pieces on the side as an actor, to kind of get the juice flowing, get the creative mind stimulated, and see what other sides of your acting abilities you possess, right? It's having that range, when they say an actor has range.
yeah,
So, and that's something that
yeah,
you're kind of like learning yourself, right? Because you're on the last podcast, like, I know you're a funny guy, but I don't remember seeing anything really comedic. I know you were trying to do some
exactly,
dramatic roles. And then in
exactly.
that short period of time, I already see, like, okay, now he's trying to, Will Smith it, as I say, where you could pull off that I am legend, don't mess around, right? Because I'm still, it's one of my favorites for that. Like, you could pull off an I am legend, but yet be, Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Like, it's insane.
Exactly, exactly.
So I think it's so important to have that as range as an actor, because, it creates so many opportunities, right? So many roles. Um, and you just have more of an appreciation for the art form, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is like the beautiful thing about the journey as well too. You know, you begin to discover a lot of things about yourself. And I didn't even realize I kind of had like this, you know, this comedic timing, you know, comedic sense when it came to being on screen, you know, because real life comedy when the camera's off is so
Right.
much different than when, you know, you're doing a scene,
Oh
or
yeah.
even when you're doing stand-up comedy. It's so different.
So
A lot
different.
of actors struggle to be funny on screen, on camera, and it's a skill. It's a skill that you know, many people do have, but also at the same time, a lot of people are dying to have that.
Yeah.
So why not explore it? You know, why not have fun with it? It's you know, sometimes you want to you know, take a break from all that dramatic just allure, just sort of surrounded, you know, in terms of your energy and your performance. Sometimes you want to still put in that same extreme level of focus, but to allow yourself to just have a different type of fun is really what is gravitating towards that. So you'll see more, and
Yeah, that's great.
you'll start to see the you know, very dramatic comedic somewhere in the middle. You'll see
Yeah.
that continue to happen as as I develop as a performer and as I am allotted
Hmm.
more experiences and opportunities, and as I just allow myself to get more creative, you'll continue to
Yeah.
see more, and same with the rest of the world. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I think it's like I said, I think it's important to go that direction. And it only benefits you as an actor, really, because you're able to take that to the table. And you hit it right on about the whole comedy aspect. Is I'm trying to, my friends or people I know will say, "Oh, you're pretty funny. You should go and like be a comedian or whatever." And I said, I can never be a comedian because I'm funny because I play off your jokes, like I play off the situation. Stand up comedy is such a completely different animal. Like you said, like you have to create scene scenarios. It's storytelling, right? And then you have to have a punchline and you have to execute it the right way. And obviously, like with anything, that's persistence of craft, but you have to have a passion and you have to have a stomach to be rejected because it's just nonstop, right? I don't even think it's as bad as auditioning.
Mhm.
I think with like, because auditioning, right, you have what, 2 3 people at most, maybe more, but stand-up comedy, you have a room filled of people and you don't know who they are. You're not even prepared. It's kind of like they just expect you to be funny. With the audition, it's kind of like, okay, here's his headshot, he's an actor, he's trying to get this role, this is what we're looking for. But with stand-up comedy, it's like, hey, just make me laugh. That's all I care about, which is so
That's
much
it.
pressure, right? Because you got to make someone laugh, got to crack a smile. But the ones who do it are the ones that keep at it. I have high respect for them for sure. Um, yeah, I just want to. So you're starting, like you said, you're doing comedy and you're doing drama. You're doing somewhere in between. And I've noticed with your content that you've been putting out a lot of from Sequence 21 Studios. There's a new production company that you started. So
Yes.
because I love marketing as much as I love film, I just want to first start off like, what was the inspiration behind the name of the company?
So the inspiration behind the name, that is a great question. So myself and my cousin, we're the owners of Sequence 21.
Nice.
And as we were figuring out the identity that we wanted to have for the company and the stories that we wanted to tell, we were compiling a bunch of different names, things specific to alignment, something that feels bigger than you, so something that is universal, that is sort of out of this world, and then something that is pertaining to film and TV, and all the other things moving towards that aspect. And we decided to go with Sequence 21 because we said everything in life, whether it be real life, or if we're going into the aspect of TV, film, documentaries, everything, you name it, in terms of the whole filmmaking and media aspect, everything happens in sequence. Everything is sequential. Everything, regardless if it's going backwards, forwards, sideways, up, down, everything is a sequence. So we said, this is what we're about. We're here to create, to just create. And within that, there are going to be things that happen in a sequence. And 21 comes from, it comes from two minds that are coming together that think like one.
Mm.
So because him and I are sort of the head of this beast in this
Yeah, yeah.
creation, we collaborate to create these ideas. And there is one of the things that we really made sure that we were going to do is we're going to give people opportunities. A lot of people that are not afforded those luxuries,
Mm.
right? So again, going back to us being so fortunate, um, we know so many talented people, whether they be writers, whether they be directors, actors, models, you name it.
Right.
They're so talented, but they're not giving the spotlight to showcase their talent and their
Mm.
abilities to the world. So our responsibility is to help and to aid by doing that,
Right.
right? And that is to continue to tell our stories, to have them be a part of it, to collaborate with others.
Nice.
And yeah, that's essentially how Sequence 21 came to be, and that is the origins of the name.
Nice.
It's we put a lot of thought into it, and we both had the aha moment. I like this.
You agreed.
I
Yeah.
like this.
That's
I can
important.
I can
Yeah.
agree with this. I can agree
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
this. Let's do it. Signed, sealed, delivered, baby. Let's go. Let's
Let's
go.
go. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the reason why I was so excited for you when I saw that is because, it's so important to diversify your skills as an actor and not see yourself just as an actor. You see yourself now as a filmmaker. Because again, in this short period of time since the last podcast, I was talking to the actor Shavae Lorenzo, and now, within a month, now we're talking to the filmmaker Shavae Lorenzo. And congratulations on your first, I would call it, right, your first kind of short film from Sequence
Yes.
21.
Yeah.
It's called Evil Has Two Eyes, right?
Yes, that's
By
correct.
Daniel
Yes, that's
Tika.
correct. Yes.
Yeah, great. So I've been seeing it promoted on Instagram, and I've watched a bit of it. I have to say, like, very
Hmm.
powerful, the
Yeah.
cinematography and your performance as well. But walk us through it. Like, how did this project come to be? What's it all about?
So Daniel's my cousin and my business partner. Daniel had approached me, may have been last September or October.
Hmm.
And it's so funny how life works. It's such a beautiful thing. So he approached me and he said, "Hey, I'm doing a short film." Uh, and at the time, the working title was Doppelgangers. And he said, "Hey, I'm doing the short film. It's called Doppelgangers, and I would love for you to be a part of it, one of the main characters to the story. I feel as if you would fit perfectly for it, based off of
Right.
based off of the work that I've seen you done, and what I know you can do."
Right.
And I said, "Sure, absolutely, let's do it."
Good old Chevy. Yeah. Are you
This is
kidding
a,
me?
this is
Opportunity. Yeah.
are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This is a no brainer. This is a no
Yeah.
brainer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he he gave me the script, and I read it, and it was very confusing at first. So from there, we had a series of Zoom meetings just to really iron out the story, for me to understand the story, for me to understand the character. This character is so pivotal in the story. It was only going to be done properly, um, and brought to justice if I understood the story properly.
Right.
That's the only way that that I was going to feel comfortable doing it, because he is such a powerful character. And we went through the text. We fine tuned it. We got us to a place where I could understand it, and then the real preparation came into creating Damien is my character's name,
Right.
and and a lot of his, when I break down characters, and this is sort of touches up a little bit on what I spoke about the last podcast. My preparation as an actor is I want to get into this character's mind, and it comes from a place that is not judgmental. It comes from an honest place. Damien is an aggressive, violent um, individual, but not every person is like that for no reason.
Yeah.
There are reasons to why they are the way that they are. Even though he's this leader, he's figuring out how to be a leader. And I think the loss of his parents, the environment that they're in, these are all contributions to creating this person. So essentially, the story is, and my cousin is so genius in terms of how his mind works. It is, what's the easiest way to say it? It is essentially modern society's um, classism, and how it creates tribalism, and how tribalism is infectious and poisonous to the youth. So as one watches it, it's metaphorical in terms of the fog, and understanding the underlying issues throughout it. So I'll give you a good example.
Hmm.
When it comes to modern day tribalism, you know, we all come from different aspects and different cultures in our lives, and there's different values that we've been learning, and ones that really stick and ones that won't change.
Yeah.
And there so happens to always be this friction and this contradiction and this clash from one culture to another, right? And this creates this poisonous environment for so many youths, that it's not okay to be loved by somebody who doesn't look like you, to communicate with them, to talk to them, to grow with them, to have your own individual experiences and come together. That's more so what this story is really about. And my cousin's contradiction between, him being this young Black African American male who lives in, the suburbs, and having to navigate life in that one aspect, and seeing how these two things come together and what he sort of sees behind the lines.
Right.
So when you see somebody getting pulled over, who's wrongfully pulled over, cops killing so many people recently, and it's been happening through the dawn of time. It's just now, because of
Yeah.
technology, we're able to capture those
Of
things.
course. Yeah.
There's so many of these unfortunate things that are contributing to infecting um, the younger generations,
Yeah.
and the younger generations being impacted and infected by that. They grow older and they become the adults and um, the gatekeepers of society. So it's just thinking behind the surface. That's what it is. But it was definitely very interesting to understand
Nice.
his mind and how he sees the world, um, and how he's able to implement that as a filmmaker, and also allowing me the luxury to playing a larger role in this project beyond being just the actor,
Right.
helping him make decisions. I know this is like his baby. This project was his baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was so fortunate to be allowed to make a lot of the important decisions, or to help him do
Nice.
that. Um, and I'm super proud of it. I'm super proud of it. I'm super proud of the work of every single person that was involved. It takes a village to do these things,
Yeah, man.
and
Yeah.
it took a village to create this. Yes, I get a lot of the praise because I'm one of the actors, and people say you had a really great performance and this, that, and the third. But I said, trust me, none of this would have been able to happen unless it was for everybody that was behind
Yeah.
that camera. So I'm super proud of everybody, and I'm super proud of the film and the message that it's to show and to give everybody. And I'm so big on everybody just spreading love. Not to get to
Yeah.
this, but I'm so big with wanting everybody to just spread love, and to not hate each other. That's so important for our society, to just love one another. We're here in this time and in this space, so make the best of it.
Yeah.
Just love each other and appreciate each other, and just see how life is such a beautiful thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I
Mm.
appreciate what you're saying, man, because it's unfortunate. Like a lot of people don't think that way. And we were talking about this before the podcast. What does it take to lend a hand, or what does it take to reshare, or just promote someone's content, or someone that you collaborated with, or someone that you genuinely are inspired by, right? Like from the beginning, I should mention, Shavae has always been good to me that way. Like back when I came back from California, I was making those short films, and you would always like comment or DM me and just like say like the progression. I can see the progression. Keep at it. And people have no idea, like those little messages help. You make you go a long way. It gave me such a boost of confidence. Because I respect you as a person, and we were friends, but it's like because we haven't really we spoken, there was like a bit of a gap. So it's like to see
Mhm.
you reaching out like that, and my reacting to my work, that tells me like, hey, like this isn't going on, blind eyes. Like people are seeing it. People are seeing it.
Seeing
They're
it.
consuming it, and they're enjoying it. That's what I want. That's what anyone in this business wants, is for people to enjoy your work. It's a story at the end of the day. So I just want to say, yeah, that's so important. What you said about that, we should all have that mindset of that collaborate. That's why I'm always, when I talk to people, including yourself, I'm always like, my door is always open. Feel free if you ever need someone. If I ever need someone, I'll think of you, kind of thing, because we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same journey. And I don't know if we said this at the beginning of the podcast or before, but it's a community. It's a community effort that we have to be as one. And we shouldn't compete with one another. Yes, it's tempting. We're human beings, and I'm guilty of this, guys. I'll look at someone's post. I'll be like, oh, like they're doing this. What am I doing with my life? Like maybe I should be doing something better, like with this project. But I remind myself, you know, you got to compare with the day before. You got to compare with who you were yesterday. Your progress is only defined by yourself. It's not defined by Shavae. Shavae's not defining my progress, and I'm not defining his. My
Hmm.
success, and that the mentality also I should mention is abundance. I think a lot of us, especially millennials, is we have this scarcity mindset. I don't know if it's how we're raised. I don't know if it's all these looming kind of shitty announcements with global warming and you know what I mean, like the pandemic.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the houses are worth like 1.5 million, and it's like a one garage house. But the reality is yeah, a lot of us have a scarcity mindset, and I think it's so important that abundance. Someone's success doesn't mean that they're taking away your chances of being successful. They can make it, and you can make it too.
absolutely.
Like just because that person became famous doesn't mean you can't become famous too, kind of thing, right? So it's I think an important and healthy mindset to have, and it's something that I'm learning, and as artists we should all learn to kind of possess, right?
And one of the things that I continue to hear, regardless if it is an actor, an artist, business person, whomever it may be,
Yeah.
they always say they get to the top and it is lonely. They look, and there's nobody around them. I don't
Mm,
want to be in that
yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to look around and see everybody and be happy and be able to share
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
moments at the top.
Right.
That's it. That's what life is
Entourage,
about.
baby.
Yeah, that's what life's about.
Yeah.
You don't want to get to the top and then you just kind of looking like, oh, well, I guess I'm here by myself now. And
Yeah,
nah,
I got a personal chef if that counts.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's not what life's about, man. It's if you can help others. You
Yeah.
know, it's it it's not difficult to do that, to help others, regardless if you believe in good karma, if you don't believe in it at all. If you are a good person and you generally feel humility towards others, you will help in some way or another. That's why being able to message you or liking or sharing, it's free of charge.
Yes. Yes.
How much effort does it take me to move my finger from one section of my screen to the other? It takes no effort. Why not do that if I can help in some way or another? We're all here trying to do this the same thing. We have this one common goal, and it's beautiful to just be a part of it and to experience it and to see it. And if we can help each other in some way or another, why not? Why not?
Yeah, it's so true, and people will often tell me like sometimes there's always these fears like, oh, you shouldn't these social kind of cues or customs, like don't really like tell someone, can you repost this, like don't be desperate or don't. And for me it's more like, well, I'm not messaging just anyone. Like if I did a podcast with someone, right, I say, hey, I'm like, if you enjoyed the podcast, it'd mean a lot if you reshare it, kind of thing, right? And what it is that sometimes,
Mhm.
obviously you can't expect it, but the way I look at it is a lot of people will kind of understand like where you're coming from. The people that like what you were saying, like kind of like you and I clicked. It's like I didn't really like tell you like, can you repost the kind of thing, but it's just like even if I did, even if I was like, hey man, do you mind like if you can reshare it? Like I remember when I first was posting content, what I'm trying to get at is my friends would be like, yo, why didn't you tag me? Like, why didn't you repost it? Why didn't you tell me to repost it? Like my closest friends. And I'd be like, oh, I just didn't want to like, I didn't want to sound pretentious. Like, yeah, reshare my stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're like, right, exactly. But what their argument was is like, but we told you how much we loved it, and we told you to like keep us updated on it, and we had a great time. Don't never like feel free to like tell us, like we're your friends. And it's like we don't. That's what I'm saying is like everyone takes life so serious that way, where you can't do this, you can't do that, and it's like what's so wrong about Shavae telling me, hey buddy, like I got this film, I'd mean a lot if you could just promote it on your page, or like
Mhm.
could you just like give a shout out, whatever. Like I would do that. I'm a filmmaker, and I would be like, hey, I watched this film, go check it out. Like
Yeah,
don't know, I don't know, like.
yeah,
And
like
someone would, but someone, what I'm trying to say, will tell you probably, or someone listening to this would be like, "Oh, I could never do that," or like, that's so like bodacious. But it's like, but if you're friends or if you're colleagues or in the business, right? Like you're not. I'm not talking about like you're messaging Gary Vee to do this. You're messaging like a friend that you've worked with. What is so
yeah.
wrong? Like that's just my attitude. Like it's business at the end of the day. It's networking. That's how you get ahead. Is having the courage to go in for the ask and say, hey,
Mhm.
would you like to share this this experience? So
Yeah, I find ego is the biggest killer. That's what it is. I think egos get in the way of their distraction. And again, I get it. I get why people, get their egos because of their successes and blah, 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 blah,
Yeah, yeah,
blah.
yeah.
But as long as you're staying um, humble, you will never allow your ego to get into the way of your decisions. I will never allow my ego to stop myself from posting. If you do a film or whatever the capacity is, to just repost it. First of all,
Yeah.
am I not in love with filmmaking and
Yeah.
films and TV and everything that is creative? Just going down back to the surface level, why would I not enjoy that period? So to
Yeah.
share it so that other people can feel the experience that I felt, why not? So that's really what it is. A lot of the times it's just the ego that gets in the way, and it's a distraction. And just remember who was there for you when things were going well. Remember who's been along the journey, who's been supportive of you, and if you can help again in any way, just help. Just
Yeah.
help. You don't have to kill yourself to help. Nobody's telling you to kill yourself. Some people will do that naturally because that's how they are and that's who they are.
Yeah.
But it takes nothing to just help and to support.
Yeah.
And again, as you said, this is a business. So, being able to, be showcased, um, to have that identity, to be shown, it is so important, right? It takes nothing, man. And I think if people got rid of that mindset of that, competition and the ego and all that stuff, it would be a lot. It would be a
Or just
lot
the
better.
fear, a lot better. And like I said, just the fear of, a biggest thing is just going in for the ask, or like, just reaching out and saying, hey man, it'd mean a lot if you could do this for me, or, again, it's don't do it to just random people, but,
Mhm.
and there are, let's be honest, there are some people that will, if they have a clothing business, I've heard people, they DM, hey, do you want to wear this and repost it, mean a lot. So I guess there's no right or wrong answer. I think it's just having the courage at the end of the day. And like you said, good intentions. Because,
Mhm.
I'm not getting an ego stroke out of it where it's like, oh, like, yeah, you reshare that podcast. It's more like, I really enjoyed this conversation and I want people to hear it. And I think
Yeah,
that's what a lot of people are starting to understand. But when I was first kind of like starting, it's like, yeah, I want my podcast to be, known, and people to hear it and whatever. But people forget I'm talking to someone. I'm not by myself, and I want them to also hear what they're saying. And I could repost it, right?
yeah,
But only my audience is going to see it. Like if you were stubborn about it and say, "Oh, I don't want to repost this podcast," people will never know what you had to say. Only my audience will know. Do you know what I mean? And it's like
yeah.
it's a disservice to yourself, right? But luckily, you're not that way. And this is what I'm trying to explain, guys: is how ego can get in the way. Is see how how it could benefit you, right? Look at it from another angle. So yeah, man, I think it's so important, and I'm glad we're on the same wavelength with that. It's crazy times, man, and not to get like too philosophical, but the ego is all bullshit at the end of the day, man. We create human beings like because we have a mind of our own consciousness. We create value of
Yeah,
everything, right? Like paper bills are but money that we can purchase items and we possess things. In reality, it's just paper, right? But we create these things in our head. Obviously, we live in a reality. We can't just completely abandon money, for instance.
yeah.
But my point is
Mm.
that when you start to understand that everything around us is created by our own consciousness, like year history and human beings, and really it's just a figment of our imagination, you realize that the ego is part of that too. You know, we're all equal, whether you want to hear this or
Everybody.
not.
Yeah,
We're unequal in the sense that we have different, yes, skill sets, different talents that we help each other uplift. But when you really boil it down, you bleed and I bleed. That's it.
absolutely.
Yeah, and we're all going to the
Listen,
same place.
we all came from the earth, and at the end of
Yeah,
this, we all go back down into the earth,
exactly,
regardless of
exactly.
how much money you have or not.
It's true, and that's why I was telling my
Well,
friend, right, is because Gary Vee. I remember this lady, like my buddy sent a clip, and this lady goes to Gary Vee like, tell me something inspirational in 3 words," and he's like, "You're gonna die," and no one was expecting that response. And what he's explaining is that you know we're all going to the same place, so why not change up the journey? Why not
yeah,
do something different along the way? Because whether you become a CA, whether you become a CEO, whether you become an artist on the street, a visual artist, whatever you want to do, they're all like Amazon CEO is going to end up in the same place as the person who's trying to make it as a graffiti artist. God doesn't have reservations for all those things, as far as we know. But I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
He sees us all equally.
Listen, man, at the end of the day, being alive, being healthy, there's so many good things to be appreciative of. You
Yeah,
know,
man.
all of this stuff is, and I've had a great conversation with a few of my really close friends, and we're like, all of this stuff that we're doing, this is all extra.
Yeah,
Yes, you can be passionate about whatever it may be that you want to do in life, but all of this stuff is extra. You being alive, for you to be able to breathe air, for you to be able to walk, to see, to hear, you know, be appreciative of those things.
yeah,
This extra stuff that you want that may give you money or this, that, and the third, that's all extra. You want it because it's nice, it's flashy,
it's
feels
shiny.
good, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah,
yeah.
but you don't need it at the end of the day, right? So it's just like, just feel gratitude and appreciation for everything, and just spread love.
And like you said
Spread
at the
love,
beginning
man.
of the conversation, man, as soon as once you have that acceptance, like you said, you were talking to your mom and you said, just trust me. Cause I had that same conversation. You took the words from my mouth where I got to a point where I was so fed up. And I said, honestly, guys, you guys just have to trust me at this point because I need to give myself a year. That's how I talked to him. I said, I got to
Mhm.
give myself a year, maybe even two. And I just have to not deal with the judgment. I got to work. I got to do this. I got to do that. Just give me that runway and let me see where I go. And it happened to be in the pandemic. Just my luck. I'm making a powerful Oscar speech next month. Pandemic announced worldwide. I swear to God, it was the funniest thing. But hey, tells about makes for a better story. And
Yeah,
I never look back, kind of thing. Obviously, I'm human. I have my doubts, but you just to see the progression and see how far you can go once you commit to an idea. It all stems from that. Just having that trust, that belief in yourself, and then that when that happens, things naturally fall into place. So that's
yeah,
something that definitely I will be keeping in mind going forward, and I know you will be keeping in mind, and everybody listening, definitely keep it in mind. All right, yeah.
absolutely.
So I want to thank you again, Shavae Lorenzo, for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure, like always, getting to know more about your journey and also the exciting stuff that you're doing. I wish you best of luck with Sequence 21 Studios.
Thank you, thank you.
I see a great partnership in the future. And
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. No, I'm saying it's always exciting to see just how much you develop and how much you advance as an artist, right? Because it's commendable. You don't peg yourself as, oh, I'm just an actor. It's no, let me learn all sides of this business because that's how I'm gonna become the best artist I can be. Right. So
Absolutely, absolutely. It's if you don't want to be one dimensional, you don't need to be. Find other things that you enjoy. This is all a creative space, so why not try other things? That's why it's so funny. Quickly, I'll say
yeah.
this. You know, I always had this plan in my mind that I would get into directing at
Mm.
40, and
Okay.
I pinpointed 40 because I said, you know what, by 40 years old, I would have had enough life experience. I would have been seasoned.
Yeah.
I would have had enough film experience. I would have met enough people,
Yeah.
and I would have a good foundation. And then one day I just thought, well, I don't have to wait. I'm putting the perfect image in my mind of kind of like the end goal. I'm like, I can just start now, and I can grow, and I can make mistakes, and I can
Yeah.
develop, and
Yeah.
I can grow my acting and Shavae, and I can also grow this production company with my cousin. And
Yeah.
there will be trials and tribulations, but at the end of the day, we're all figuring this thing out.
Yeah.
I'm in it for the knowledge, and I'm so thankful of my cousin Daniel. You're the man.
Yes.
You've been instrumental to my development as now, shifting to a filmmaker and understanding, the love is there, the work is there, the foundation is there, and we've now married the two, and just to see how far we can go with this creative aspect in this
Yeah,
journey,
man.
Yeah,
Very exciting. Very exciting. It's always good to see life as an opportunity, and that positive mindset will take you very far for sure, buddy.
absolutely.
I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's always been a pleasure. Looking forward to having you back, sharing your journey, sharing what's next, what's new. Thank you
Yeah,
again for everybody listening. I really hope this inspired this conversation, made you feel better about yourself, and made you optimistic about what's to come, especially if you're an artist in a situation that you feel you can't get out of. Just know that when you have that conviction, when you have that belief in yourself, there's always a way out. Okay. So thank you again, and we'll talk soon.
we will.